Where do you stand on the LeBron MJ of it all now that LeBron has made 8 finals of his career?
I mean, I said last year, Jeff Van Gundy and I had a whole podcast about this. I think it became a legitimate conversation of peers last year when they just blitzkrieged the entire Eastern Conference and made the finals again, losing only one game. And I think it's a legitimate conversation now. I think they're essentially equal players, and if LeBron keeps playing like this in 2, 3, 4 years, I mean, the only ammo you're going to have to say that Michael was outranking him is just the sheer number of championships. And if that's the ammo, if that's the argument, then that's going to be an unwinnable argument for LeBron. But I think all the other arguments are going to point in his direction. So it's sort of, eye of the beholder kind of thing at this point.
The fact that he might go somewhere else, though, in a couple of weeks, how might that change the dynamic? The fact that Jordan had obviously 2 eras of his own surrounding his baseball foray, but with the same team. LeBron going Cavs, Heat, Cavs, and now another destination potentially. So I guess this is a 2-part question for you. How did that Game 7 win perhaps change that dynamic for July 1? And how would his departing change any of the dynamic of what you mentioned about the Jordan conversation, Zach?
I mean, I guess the Game 7 win probably changed it at least a little bit. It proves to him that, yes, even with the supporting cast in the East for now, until Boston gets healthy and Philadelphia sort of matures, I can still get back to the finals. But both of those things may change next year with those 2 teams. So I'm not sure how much it mattered. Everything has to matter a little bit. I think what would matter a lot more is if they're surprisingly competitive in this series and really make it a series and push them hard. But if he changes teams again, Michael Jordan went and played baseball for 2 years in the middle of his prime. I don't know what is an apple, what is an orange, how to distinguish between the two. It doesn't really bother me or taint LeBron's legacy in any way if he's on, Team Y next year.
And in terms of him potentially hooking up with somebody on July 1 to go to a different team, who's more apt to join LeBron in just a package deal somewhere, or join him in Cleveland? Paul George, Kawhi Leonard. Which one do you think is more apt to hook up with LeBron come July 1?
I mean, I think you got to start with PG only because, he's a free agent, and so his flexibility is much easier. The Spurs have Kawhi under contract for another year and therefore hold more cards and introduce a sort of third party that can make things a little bit more complex. So I think you have to start with PG. But, yeah, I mean, the entire offseason starts with those 3 guys, LeBron, Paul George, and Kawhi. You can throw Chris Paul in there too, but those 3 dominoes are going to define what is going to be just an absolutely bonkers July whenever it starts.
Yeah, so how do you think the Chris Paul dynamic plays out now that the Rockets are sitting home fishing, or however you want to put it?
I think he goes back there. My guess is that there were expectations of a full 5-year max contract when they acquired him. I'm sure that Houston feels a little bit queasy about years 4 and 5 of that deal, given that he just suffered another postseason injury and is 33, and point guards typically don't age very well. But I would suspect Houston looks at this and says, we were that close. This team works. We'll have to adjust it here or there because Trevor Ariza is a free agent and we have some other Clint Capella is a free agent. But I think they bring CP back. What the rest of the team looks like will be a little bit unclear, but I think he goes back.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.